Let's get into something a little bit deeper. Ohio State this weekend, you know, they find out that there was no lack of institutional control, which is the first good news in ages.
Yeah, I think they dodged a huge bullet here, Andy. This means basically they're not going to have a 2+ bowl game ban. Worst case scenario, they're going to have a one-year postseason bowl ban. I actually think they're probably going to end up walking away with nothing more than 2 years probation, giving the Sugar Bowl back, all the victories from last season, and probably end up walking away with no ban. So.
Lack of scholarships or takeaway scholarships?
It'll depend on what the NCAA comes back with, but I wouldn't be shocked, but I still don't see a bowl ban coming into play here.
How much of that, though, is because Jim Tressel is gone, that he's taken the bullet in some ways? Or, I mean, I know that people can look at it both ways, but Tressel's gone, Pryor's gone, and the NCAA might say, okay, this team's already paid the price they need to.
I think a lot of it is, and that's what they're saying, that no other coach has no information about what had happened, and Tressel was basically the fall guy, so to speak. And I think that's going to take into consideration hugely in the NCAA's eyes when they come to August 12th to have their meeting with Ohio State.
All right, once this is beyond all the turmoil that's happened, it all comes up to Luke Fickell at this point. What kind of a season is Luke Fickell going to have, knowing that everyone's going to be saying, well, who's going to get the Ohio State job this year, next year? And does Luke have a legitimate shot to be the long-term coach of the Buckeyes?
I think Luke's got a great shot to be the next coach of Ohio State. The reason being, he's been there 10 years. He's young. He's very passionate. He brought in Mike Vrabel to coach linebackers, someone who he's played with and is very good friends with. I think that's going to be a huge addition to them, not only on the field, but it's going to help them in the recruiting process throughout the season, because it's going to be tough to recruit kids not knowing who the head coach is going to be at Ohio State. But I think they'll do as good a job as they can do with the situation that they have, being an interim coach. If he can win, you know, 6, 7, 8 games throughout the early process of the season, I think they could come back and give him a contract extension, which would be huge.
All right, so I guess it's kind of a loaded question. Can Luke Fickell win this year? Can he? Is he ready for the job?
He can absolutely win. The cupboard's not bare at Ohio State. They have a lot of talent. The big question marks will be offensively. Obviously at quarterback, they're going to probably end up with a true freshman quarterback to start the season. A couple wideouts will need to step up. The young guys, DeVere Posey will be out for the first 5 games. But if they can get through those first 5 games, you know, with only 1 loss, I think that could be critical to the success of how well they play the rest of the season.
Ohio State is always, when they go on the road, it's always rough territory, no matter where they play. Now I think it's going to be even rougher, don't you think? It's
going to be tough, especially the fact that their first major road test is going to be in Lincoln, Nebraska, on the road. That's when all the guys get to come back into the fold, which will be huge for Ohio State, but still, you bring in a team like Nebraska with all the tradition, and they're going to be fired up to play Ohio State. That'll be a big test for Luke Fickell and the Ohio State Buckeyes early in the season.
So at this point, it's almost like let's get a breath of fresh air, get past August 12th, get past the NCAA, and then start playing football, and then things maybe get back to normal depending on what the NCAA says.
I think things are going to start to get back to normal here rather quickly. Once the guys get into camp, we'll be talking about football a lot more. I think that there's a huge weight lifted off the shoulders of Ohio State fans throughout this process with this news coming now that there's no lack of institutional control. That's huge for Ohio State. That means they're not going to have a big 2-year bowl game ban like USC, where they're going to take away scholarships. So that's huge. I think Ohio State fans at least consider that a small victory. It's still not the end-all by all means, but you know, we'll find out.
All right, last question. What happens to Jim Tressel next?
I don't know. I heard he's doing some volunteer work down in Columbus, but I mean, I don't see him coaching for a while. But if ever, I should say. But, you know, we'll see.
We'll see what he does. Dustin Fox, our insider not only in the NFL, but for Ohio State football as well. Thanks, Dustin.